Hi there, warm welcome. You're watching Blueprint Explosive Exclusive and I'm Meghna Deka. Well, modern warfare is no longer fought with just tanks, guns or bombs. Modern warfare is fought with algorithms, with signals, whispers of data. A Zoom call becomes a battlefield. A pager can become a weapon. A heartbeat in the desert becomes a beacon for rescue operations. From striking 100 targets in 10 minutes across Lebanon to locating a pilot 40 miles away in enemy territory. We are going to tell you just how we are in the era of AI-enabled tech war. And that's the only winner in this war. In this era, the war isn't just about who's got the biggest guns. It's about who sees tracks and strikes with precision. Let's tell you how. This is what is being alleged about Israel hacking the Hezbollah chief's Zoom meeting, leading to the death of at least 100 Hezbollah strikes. But how did they manage to pull this off? Well, as per rumors which are doing the rounds circulating on pro-Hezbollah forums, which claims that Hezbollah chief Naim Qasim, as well as the top leaders, were all holding a Zoom call. You can see animated graphics of how that would have happened. They claim that Israel hacked into it and somehow tracked the IP addresses during the Zoom meeting which was happening. They then managed to geolocate dozens of the Hezbollah officials. But there is no confirmation from the IDF or any other credible sources that this really happened. But this is the theory and conspiracy doing the rounds, that using and by hacking into the Zoom call, they managed to track the IP addresses. What is, however, confirmed is the scale and precision of the strike itself. IDF had admitted that it has struck 100 targets within 10 minutes, all of them simultaneously. Using AI, using technology is the rumor. They hacked into the Zoom call and managed to identify where the Hezbollah chiefs were sitting. Imagine what this means for the future of warfare. Having tech which can hack into Zoom calls, using technology to track them down, IP addresses, and then launching simultaneous strikes across 100 locations. IDF has claimed that hundreds of Hezbollah leaders, and this includes its chief as well, were killed in these strikes overnight. Of course, there is no official confirmation of this, but whether the method was a Zoom IP tracking or cellular metadata or human intelligence or some kind of a combination of all three of them, the capability itself which has been demonstrated in this shows that Israel can penetrate Hezbollah's operational architecture using technology to a depth that allows simultaneous strikes across this entire theater of war. But unfortunately, most of these sites were located in civilian areas. Israel said that accusing Hezbollah of operating amongst the population, civilian population that is. Most of them were strikes which happened in dense commercial and residential areas across central Beirut without warning. This has unfortunately killed at least 254 people and wounding 1,165 people. Ironically, this was hours after a ceasefire between US and Iran came into being. Well, this has been the deadliest night of the war. The IDF on its part has said that the targets including command centers of the Hezbollah. Not just that, it said that it has also struck the missile infrastructure of Hezbollah as well as the Radwan forces. The assets were hit and they said it was terror assets. They also have hit and admitted to having hit drone units which indicate a highly coordinated intelligence-driven operation by Israel, indicating a highly coordinated intelligence E-driven, should I say. It is all AI-driven operation. The IDF has said that the operation was based on intelligence which was gathered over several weeks and had involved this coordination between its operations and intelligence and Directorate, Air Force, as well as the entire Northern Command. That was the entire scope and scale of the attacks which were carried out. But to put it into perspective, 100 command targets were struck by Israel across 3 geographic zones. This was in, there you have it, the three of them we are showing, and this is the extent of the strikes which were carried out. 100 strikes in 10 minutes. This was in Beirut's southern suburbs, it was at Bekaa Valley, and it was in southern Lebanon as well. These were the three theaters of war which were struck, 100 targets in 10 minutes. This is how it all happened. Look at the expanse of the area that these 100 strikes have really covered, that we are getting to show you on the map. And this is why this is very disturbing about the magnitude of war which can expand at this scale. After this, Hezbollah's response will be predictable. Hezbollah is expected that they are going to abandon all digital communication. They are likely to go dark. They are likely to return to couriers and face-to-face meetings itself. But that response creates its own vulnerability. Remember, couriers can be followed. Face-to-face meetings mean that the Hezbollah leaders will have to physically move around. And once they step out, satellites and drones can track them. The more Hezbollah retreats from digital infrastructure, the slower its command cycle becomes. So go digital and risk geolocation, or go analog and risk a paralysis of the operations. Now remember how Israel has managed to weaponize the pagers in 2024. Some of these visuals here will remind you exactly what had happened in these pager strikes that happened across Lebanon. In a second now you'll see that visual of a sudden blast which has happened right there. Remember, there are thousands of pagers which were used by the Hezbollah members. They exploded across Lebanon. It killed at least 12 people and wounded nearly 3,000 people. The entire pager network was reportedly infiltrated or mimicked, allowing Israel to send targeted signals that helped locate and then strike specific Hezbollah operatives. That's how it was carried out in 2024, again using technology. But not just on the offensive front, technology in warfare is also redefining rescue operations. It's no longer about helicopters and heat signatures. They are about whispers of life, which may be hidden deep in the desert, or else in a crevice in a mountain. In fact, the rescue operation of the US pilot from the Iranian terrain has grabbed the headlines just a few days back. But the method, well, that's where the real story really lies. We have a representation of what really happened that day. Well, if US media reports are to be believed, the CIA deployed a classified system which is called the Ghost Murmur. What does it mean? It's technology that neither sees nor hears one. It's one that feels, you can say. Remember when Donald Trump said that the pilot was located nearly 40 miles away? How? Let's take you through. Every heartbeat generates a faint bioelectric field, which gets easily lost otherwise, but not anymore. Airborne satellites and low-flying drones can bear the sensors so sensitive that they can actually pick out that signal in that silence. And then comes the real leap, artificial intelligence, filtering away the noise and locating a single rhythmic signature of one heart, one human. In this case, it was the heartbeat of the pilot which was struck down off a jet, an American pilot who was struck down in a jet, and he managed to hide in a mountain crevice. AI picked up his heartbeat. Once AI locked into that heartbeat became a beacon of hope and rescue. It was tracked, it was triangulated across that entire space, and exact locations were determined based on it. They managed to mount that entire op based on his one heartbeat. A life was saved and a successful rescue operation was launched. No flares, no radio call for help, just a heart pounding in the desert, in the heart of a mountain. But it's not just Israel. Remember, every nation has joined the party, it seems. Just a month back, you had Israel's cybersecurity directorate, which had said that it had identified dozens of Iranian breaches into Israeli cameras to spy upon Israel. In fact, this is what it claims. Israel claims that Iran-linked hackers have already been activated in Israel, and they've managed to detect them. That these hackers had actually accessed surveillance cameras as well, and cyber groups had hacked into 50 security cameras to spy upon Israel. That they were assessing the damage which was done by the Iranian missile strike by using these cameras. In fact, they were using it to track the movement of Israeli troops as well. And they went on, the Iranian hackers went on to destroy data of over 50 small Israeli firms. But let's also take you back to the first day of the war. Let's tell you how technology was the defining factor, how Mossad spies and traffic cameras sealed the future and deal of Ali Khamenei on day one itself, when he was struck and killed by Israel. Well, nearly all the traffic cameras in Tehran were hacked years ago by the Mossad, the intelligence wing of Israel. In fact, what we do know is that these cameras, now we have found out, gave Israel real-time data of who was entering, who was leaving, especially in the high security zones where you had the bunkers. That's where the top bosses were staying, including Ali Khamenei. The Israelis then used the AI-powered target production machine. They could then track Ali Khamenei's movements. 28th of February, the Israelis knew just how Ali Khamenei was in a meeting in that specific building, along with all his top generals. Israel then managed to disrupt the mobile phone towers. Ali Khamenei's protection team stopped getting any warnings either, and then they struck. That is how, on the first day of the war, this was the biggest blow to Iran. And it was delivered not just by the biggest tanks, drones, missiles, no. It was delivered by AI and by hackers. Let me go across to our panelists. Today joining us on the show, we have Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, a defense expert. Group Captain Dr. M.J. Augustine Vinod is also joining us, a former MiG-21 pilot. I'm going to come across to you first, Lieutenant General Pandey. It's important for us to understand how important is it that we quickly adapt to this tech war, because it doesn't appear that spending billions, even if it is on tech, on defense technology, on jets, is going to get us anywhere unless we adapt and adapt fast to tech and AI.
So as the warfare becomes complex, because what happens is that unfortunately you cannot forget or leave behind the legacy systems and very quickly transit towards the niche technology systems. Because each has got its own role and each plays into the other throughout the time. So what happens is that you said so beautifully, you articulated the entire sequence event, but I must just add, while the people may say that the Zoom were hacked within weeks of data collection and management, I can assure you it will not be weeks. It will be hard work of many, many years to actually record the voices, carry out the fingerprint, because each voice has got a significant ID which requires to be monitored, and therefore who's connected on Zoom, which is the leader which is on. So all this happens by a very careful data farming, which takes a lot of time. And there is the element of humans which comes up. You give the example of pagers, right? The pagers, somebody has designed it. Some scientists have designed how the pager will have the signals to receive, to have a trigger, but to create a cavity to put adequate amount of explosive, which will cause injury to the person who's wearing it and is localized at a given time. And this didn't happen a month or 2 months prior. This was a work in progress through the factories, through putting, through denial of particular type of pagers, and slowly pushing the Hezbollah to use certain of type of pagers when they are required to be. So, you know, the issue is that today technology is moving fast, and what you said is right. We need to adapt. We need to adopt. The billions of dollars of platform-oriented equipment is required, because that is what those satellites, those fighters who moved in to pick up the WSO in 40 miles deep inside the new territory, they were platform-based. So everything, the AI can enable you to pinpoint, but eventually required men to get inside, the fighters to get inside, clearly identify the person and take them out. So there has to be a balanced mix as we go forward. Now, last point I'll wind up is to say about like Israel. What is the challenge with Israel? Israel major challenges about manpower. Limited manpower.
Fair enough.
They have invested over a period of time in technology.
Yes.
They have invested, and the Americans and
the Chinese,
the best of the minds have come out to assist them into work this. Because in the larger scheme of things, Iran is the policeman in the Middle East, which is truly fighting the white man's fight in that region. So all that money which has come, they have worked very hard to invest in technology to ensure that the so-called terrorists, because terrorists for them, for Hezbollah, they may be freedom fighters. They need to continue to farm, get after them, because they are shy of manpower.
Absolutely.
And it becomes much more intelligent for them to actually use equipment and get after the enemies as far as possible. And AI allows you to do it much more
AI
faster.
allows you to do that, and do that from sitting far away. And that's the point. Group Captain Vinod, if I can come to you. The fact that this strike, the one that we were talking about specifically, which happened in Lebanon, killed 254 people. Apparently, and this is just a conspiracy theory, I'm putting that out, there are conspiracy theorists who are saying it all happened by Mossad hacking into the IP addresses of those who are part of a Zoom call. To think that is what we are up against, that is a daunting task.
Thank you, Meghna, for calling me on this particularly important discussion, and that too with an esteemed general sitting. Therefore, let me, for the sake of our viewers, I mean, we've been discussing ad nauseum, and we, at least the three of us, are, in sync with what has happened and what is going to happen and what is happening now. So, but for the sake of viewers, let me try to simplify this so that they understand it better. No singular technology, Meghna, can give you any result today. It has to be a convergence of technology that will bring about all that effect. It's called the EBO, we call it EBO in the military, effects-based operation. Let me give you a scenario. Say there has been an earthquake. Now, how a convergence system works is that you will deploy swarms of drones.
Right.
Okay? I mean, we are currently, in my company, we're working on this. Swarm drones go there. Individual drones, they pick up individual information like this or like this mobile phone. These individual information per se has absolutely no meaning, Meghna, standalone. But once you put it together, then the intelligence starts emerging.
It's like a jigsaw puzzle.
It is more than a jigsaw puzzle. It is like a 4-dimensional or a 3-dimensional jigsaw puzzle with the time dimension also thrown in.
Right,
now,
absolutely.
it is humanly, Meghna, impossible. Like you're standing in your studio now, if 50 to 60 people just go past in front of you, if I ask you how many were wearing red shirts, how many were wearing a blue shirt, who was wearing a red tie, tell me in a second, you won't be able to. It's not humanly possible to do so. AI does that. I mean, that's what we do here. AI does that. It is so fast that it throws out something called a comma-separated value file at a much, much higher pace. Now, let's talk about this ghost murmur that you talked about.
Right.
Ghost murmur has existed for a while. Not many people know. The alternative for ECG is something called MCG.
Okay.
The quantum pulse has been in the medical realm, Meghna, for a long time. In fact, the future of ECG is MCG. And getting the ghost murmur using the correct sensor atop a correct drone is possible, provided that area is devoid of electronics. Thankfully, it was. That is how ghost murmur of, I mean, your heart, my heart beats on electrical pulse.
Yeah. On one hand, you have AI tech, which actually killed 254 people. On the other hand, you also have that tech, which managed to carry out this daring rescue operation and save that American pilot. Unfortunately, General Pandey, I'm out of time, and I'd like to thank Group Captain Vinod as well for joining us. We are completely out of time. This is a long discussion, and this is not a discussion we are having today. This is going to be an ongoing discussion in the defense and national security, not just of India, of every nation around the world. We are thinking, how will we use our tech to win the war? That's the question. We leave you with that thought. Well, with that, we have some big breaking news which is coming in. Well, this is what President Trump has said while he has criticized his allies. He said none of these people, including our very own, all of them have been very disappointing, including NATO, understood anything unless they have pressure placed upon them. This is what US President Donald Trump has said. In fact, once taken aim at NATO yet again, key alliance partners as well of NATO saying that they have failed to understand the situation unless there is pressure which is directly applied onto them, calling their approach very disappointing. You can see that post on your screen saying none of these people, including our own, very disappointing. NATO understood anything except they have pressure placed upon them. This, of course, is with regard to Hormuz, when he had given the call that all the NATO allies should send in their ships to try and secure Hormuz. They refused, and now Trump says NATO won't act without pressure. Another big breaking news which is coming in. Fresh details about Iran's demands in the ceasefire agreement have emerged. In fact, reports are suggesting that Iran's demands, including the unfreezing of Iranian assets by the Americans within 2 weeks. Now, this is going to be a big ask. Also, this, as we understand, that Iran will allow no more than 15 ships to pass through the Strait of Hormuz per day under the ceasefire agreement. These are all the details which are coming to downs, and we'll have to wait and see how many of them are going to be actually met by US and Israel. That too, if the three of them manage to come together on the talking table. We leave you with this. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. right here on Times Now.